everybody, I'm Jammer, and in Sakurai's presentation the other day, where of course, you know, we saw Byleth, or as I like to pronounce it, Byleth, because apparently I can't figure out how to say Byleth, even though it's literally just B-Y-Leth. Byleth. Dude, come on. With the announcement of that character, Sakurai also talked about the extension of what to kind of expect going forward with Smash DLC beyond this first fighter pass. We'd already previously known that they were going to be extending to have more characters beyond this first fighter pass, but we didn't really know what form it could take. We initially speculated that it could be just piecemeal, a couple of characters here and there. We also speculated a full-blown second fighter pass, and that is actually what we ended up having. Admittedly, it wasn't actually what I expected. Initially, when he talked about the addition of more DLC fighters, I had no expectation. I thought it was way too high expectations to think that we'd be getting a full-blown second season of a fighter pass. But I'm happy to be wrong. And believe it or not, we're getting even more fighters than the last previous fighter pass. This time having 6 full-blown characters here in the fighter pass. That's mind-blowing. However, if you do count Piranha Plant, even though he's technically not within the fighter pass, he's still an extension of how many DLC characters are in Smash currently. We're basically going to be doubling the amount of DLC fighters in total with this second season of the fighter pass. So it's that time again. Gather around, everyone. Time to talk about what characters I could see being announced in this second season of the fighter pass. Now, I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time around because there's a lot to kind of break down. Because first, when we had talked about it in the past, we thought the fighter passes were strictly third-party only, and Byleth was the obvious exception there. So going into this fighter pass, I believe anything's on the table at this point. First party, existing series, new series, third-party collaborations. There really is no rules. Like, Byleth is the best proof possible of the fact that when it comes to these DLC fighters, there really is just no rules. And so I think this time around, I'm going to kind of go every other. I'm going to go with a realistic prediction, something I think that's actually realistic to happening, and then an actual personal prediction that probably likely won't happen, but would be a character I personally would like to see. Because a lot of you have been asking, now Jammer, who do you want to see in this fighter pass? And the reality is a lot of the characters that I would actually want, I already know and am willing to and have already accepted that they are not viable for this fighter pass or anything of that matter. I mean, maybe. Who knows, technically, since I guess everything's on the table at this point. So that's why it made sense to me to kind of divide up the list of these characters into realistic predictions as well as just characters I want. So let's just stop wasting any more time and jump right into it. My first realistic prediction would be Sora from Kingdom Hearts. And now, that's a touchy subject already, calling it a realistic prediction, because first of all, there's a lot of issues with surrounding this character. Square already being that difficult situation entirely, but in addition to having to work with Disney. It's not to say that it can't happen, but I'm sure that there's just a lot of complexities with the rights to the character of Sora, because it's not just a Square property. And besides, if you brought in Sora to Smash, and he didn't have Donald or Goofy in his final Smash or something along the lines of that, it would not feel right, you know? So I guess maybe he's not a realistic prediction, but more of a character I personally feel deserving of a slot in this second fighter pass. I personally am not the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan. I played the first game. I didn't get much farther than that. So he doesn't personally have much of an emotional attachment to me, but I know plenty of people within the Nintendo community that have a strong connection with this character. That's why I personally feel like he deserves a representation in Smash, because I think it would just make so many people's day. I think he would be an unbelievably hype announcement. Now for a character I personally want that probably isn't realistic. This is technically my #1 most wanted character, because I've wanted this character in Smash before even Brawl. But realistically, I don't really see it ever happening, and I'm kind of just okay with that. But this is a character, if they did announce, I would never even see coming, honestly. And that character is, of course... And I know what you're saying. Not just another Mario franchise character, but literally a third version of Mario in Smash. And the reason I've always wanted Paper Mario Smash is because not only is Thousand Year Door my favorite game of all time, I really always thought Paper Mario could offer something unique to the cast. Yes, we already have the 2D flat character of Game & Watch, but I think Paper Mario would differ a lot because he'd be able to use his paper abilities. Perhaps his up B being like turning into a paper airplane, a crouch where he rolls up and rolls across the stage. Having a Mario in Smash that actually uses a hammer, that is one of Mario's most iconic tools. There's the word. The thing is, I don't see it ever happening because if they put in another Mario as a DLC fighter in Smash, I definitely know I'm in the minority of getting very excited for this character to be in the game. But I really do think he could offer a lot of unique mechanics that really are unlike any other fighter. But beyond that, I would just love to see more Paper Mario representation in Smash, because the true shining stars of the series, of course, is the partners and the characters you interact with. Perhaps they could maybe, like, he could pull characters out of his pocket for certain abilities, like maybe like a side special where he throws Koops out or something, or a down B where he uses, Flurry, I guess. It would be really cool to see them incorporate some of the iconic characters and partners from the series into his moveset as well. But if they ended up being just like a background stage element, I could accept that, I guess. But beyond him being just another Mario holding him back from making it in Smash, I think the other thing is the fact that Nintendo themselves doesn't know how to handle Paper Mario, let alone how they would correctly represent them in Smash. For all we know, if they actually put him in the game, they give him the color splash mechanics. And I would be very upset if they did that. I'd be very upset. So maybe it's a better idea if they just leave Paper Mario out of the series for now, until they actually figure out what Paper Mario is. So anyways, let's move on to another realistic prediction. I really do think Dante from Devil May Cry does have a great shot. There was a lot of anticipation for that character to be announced, where instead Byleth was the one announced. But I do still think the character does have a really great shot, because he is a character that is quite requested in the community. And beyond that, I think he could really offer a unique kind of moveset to Smash. While I personally don't have much attachment to the Devil May Cry series, or Dante for that matter, because I haven't played any of their games, I do acknowledge the importance of that character, and I think, honestly, the best part about him actually making the Smash would be just the meme of featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series, being able to put that sticker happily on the cover art of Smash Ultimate, and just, I think that'd be hilarious. So another unrealistic or character I just want in Smash would actually be Tracer from Overwatch. For a while, I had a good feeling that she'd actually be part of the Fighter Pass, but I've kind of just gotten to the point where I'm like, Overwatch and Smash Bros. Are probably not going to cross over. I think it really would be really cool if we eventually did see some sort of Blizzard character in Smash, but I'm starting just getting to the point where I don't think it's going to happen. But the reason I most want Tracer in Smash is just because I, again, think she could really offer something unique to the cast. Being a primarily shooting-based character, she obviously would incorporate using her projectiles and stuff. In addition to her sticky bomb thing, it's just a move perfectly made for Smash at that point. But I think the most unique ability about Tracer is her blink ability. Her ability to use 3 teleports in succession to kind of dance around as you play her in Overwatch. I think being able to incorporate that mechanic into Smash would be really unlike any other character. It would be really interesting to see that character translated into a 2D space, but not only that, we'll also incorporate that blink ability, being able to kind of jump around the stage, in quick succession, but of course you only have 3 teleports in a row, so you have to wait for your cooldown to build them back up. It could be a pretty obnoxious character, but I think it'd be a really technical and fun character to be able to zip around the stage, and perhaps this blink ability is tied into also your up B. So whenever you actually want to recover, you need to make sure that you actually keep your blinks in reserve, so you don't just like blink crazy off stage to take someone out, and then maybe you might not have enough to get back to the stage. Then again, if they do incorporate her recall ability where she can go out really far and then just immediately come back, it could be seen as quite broken, because you could take someone you could go really deep off stage trying to take someone out and be able to just zip back to the stage immediately. But I think it would also be quite punishable as well, especially if it has a long cooldown after you reappear after your recall. And building off that, it could kind of show like a glowing area of where Tracer is going to start blinking to once the move's activated, making you able to be immediately punished if you use the move in a bad way. So then the opponent will know exactly where you're going to land, and because you are completely vulnerable when you reappear, there is a risk reward to it. I think that would be one of the most unique things about this character, is just the movement of her abilities, being able to blink omnidirectional with a limited use of that move. I don't know if she'll realistically have a chance, but if she is a character I would lose my mind for if they announce. Back to another realistic prediction. I think the character Travis Touchdown actually has a really good chance, because I feel like every time they announce a No More Heroes related property, people not only go collectively nuts. If I'm not mistaken, I think the new No More Heroes 3 is, as well as whatever we had earlier last year, were exclusive to Switch. So the character is quite well associated with Nintendo. Again, this is a character I'm really not much familiar with. I know he fights with like a really long light stick. And the only other thing I really know is his games have a lot of interesting and weird crossover with different genres or games or stuff kind of like that, where he kind of just hops around different universes. And so that could be something really interesting that they can incorporate into his stage. Perhaps it's like a traveling stage, but instead of traveling, it's more like a transforming stage where like it kind of gets a different kind of aesthetic based on what kind of world you're existing in. One hand, it could be a retro stage, and then it's like an anime related stage, and then it's a, you know, post-apocalyptic zombie killer, whatever. You know, it could be like a variety of different environments represented through the stage. Like I said, I don't personally have much knowledge surrounding the character, so honestly, I don't know what else to even say about him. But I think he's definitely worth mentioning as at least a realistic prediction. Maybe not as strong as the other characters I previously mentioned and some later down this list, but if he doesn't make it in as a full-blown fighter in the Fighter Pass, I think eventually the No More Heroes series will be represented in Smash, whether it be through a spirit board or a Mii costume or something later down the road. So for another character I just kind of want in Smash Bros. Would be Phoenix Wright. So I know what you're saying, why on earth would you want such a non-combat oriented character in this fighting game? And the thing is, we've already seen him in a fighting game. He's been in like the Marvel vs. Capcom games before in the past. So the point is, there is a potential way to bring him in as a fighter. I don't know personally if he would actually offer something unique to the cast. I really don't know how he would play, because I haven't really played him in Marvel vs. Capcom. I think he just does punches and kicks and stuff. I don't know. So I really don't know what he would offer unique, but I really just think the Ace Attorney series needs to be represented in Smash. So potentially, it's probably more likely we'll just see a Phoenix Wright Mii Fighter costume with the blue suit and like the iconic wig. To me, it's like a crime that the Ace Attorney series doesn't have any sort of representation in Smash. So Spirit's Mii costume, probably more likely than a full-blown character. But if they do eventually do some sort of Ace Attorney crossover with Smash, that will be a character that I would collectively lose my mind for. Let's jump back to another realistic prediction. I really think that Crash Bandicoot has a great chance of getting in the game. There's a big collection of the like Naughty Dog and like the PlayStation All-Stars cast that like a lot of people have fond memories with. You know, you have Sly Cooper, you have Spyro, Jak and Dexter, Ratchet and Clank, you know, all those kind of characters. But I really think of all of them, Crash, I personally feel like Crash has the biggest star power of them. Well, don't get me wrong, a lot of those characters are popular, including Spyro with, you know, his adventures in the Skylanders universe. Personally, I feel like Crash is going to be more likely than Spyro in those other ones. I think the biggest issue with Crash, though, in the game would be the fact that his most iconic move is already in Smash. His iconic move is where he just spins around and does Bandicoot Spin. I don't know what it's actually called. And we already literally have that with Incineroar. Incineroar basically does exactly how I could imagine the spin attack move doing. Potentially they can make it more similar to Meta Knight's Tornado or whatever, where you can move more freely around the stage. But then again, if they did that, then it's just like Meta Knight. So what unique would actually Crash bring to the game? I think he still has a pretty good chance as a character, and I'm sure there's a way to incorporate him, of course. But I personally don't see him offering something super unique to the game. And I'm also having a hard time imagining like a truly robust moveset. That's just me, of course. I'd of course be happy to see him in the game, and he is a character that I would consider like a realistic prediction. But then about on the same side of that, I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine what he would do. So another character I would love to see in Smash is, I know people are gonna hate on me for this, but Steve from Minecraft. And I know I just barely, a few days ago actually, said it's more likely that he would make it as a Mii Fighter costume. And I'm still kind of that same opinion. That's why he's more in a I want him in Smash rather than a realistic prediction. Because I did say things along the lines of like his stiff movement would kind of translate weird to Smash, but a lot of people in the comments pointed out, well, Game & Watch is the stiffest character around. So they are right, but he's also 2D and he's a silhouette, and I feel like he's an obvious exception. So I'm still kind of the opinion that that Steve would more realistically make it as a Mii Swords Fighter costume. But if they were able to incorporate him as a full-blown character, I would just lose my mind. As well as to many other gamers, Minecraft holds a special place in my heart and is a game that I truly do enjoy. And I really do think if they went in with Steve, they could really incorporate a very unique moveset. One of the biggest mechanics of that game, of course, is breaking and building with blocks. And so I really do think if Steve was a character in Smash, a moveset would definitely have to be built around using and placing blocks. A character you can pull great reference from is actually one of the Rivals of Aether characters. I don't know the character's name, but that character can bring up little stone blocks that you can either like tower up, you can like kick across the stage and it'll slide. And I really do think that if Steve was incorporated in Smash, he could do something similar, where he could like place blocks as basically barriers on the stage. This isn't something totally new that we've never seen before, because characters do have similar sort of mechanics already in the game. Look at Villager and his tree ability. He sets up a object that's on the stage, and after a while, of course, expires. And the same would be true of these blocks. But the tree does block things. It blocks projectiles that come across the stage. You can't just run straight through it. You kind of have to roll around it, or you have to push really hard to dash through it. The reason I'm even bringing it up is because it's an object that can be placed on the stage that kind of changes the environment of the stage, temporarily, of course. And I think the same could be true of Steve being able to place blocks on the stage. Perhaps he could have a limit of a certain number of blocks he put on a stage at a time, like 3 or so. I could see it kind of be incorporated as his neutral B move, and perhaps, this wouldn't be maybe the best way to incorporate it, but what if it was but what if it had a kind of randomized element to it, where you could place one of 3 blocks, either being a dirt block, which is just a standard dirt block that can slide across the stage and whatever, a sand block that has less durability, can be broken easier, but can slide a lot farther and faster, and then a cobblestone block that can slide a lot shorter, but has more durability and potentially like a higher damage output or knockback or whatever. I think it would be really cool to incorporate these different block types to a different sort of blockade / projectile. So if you try to put a sand block on the edge as someone's coming up, they can kind of just get up, attack right through it. But if you put a cobblestone block there as they're coming up, they might have a harder time getting back on the stage, and it would force the player to jump or go through a different option. I think beyond placing blocks, there are other obvious things that they can incorporate into the moveset. The first being, of course, the variety of different tools you can equip in the game. The pickaxe, the shovel, the standard axe, the diamond sword, the hoe. That'd be hilarious if they incorporate the hoe somehow. They could use the Elytra as like an up B move where you can glide up with like a rocket. So at the end of it all, I really do think Steve does actually have quite a potential to be such a unique character in Smash. I know I still initially said that he'd probably be a meat fighter, and I'm still probably of that opinion. But if he does end up as a Fighter Pass character, I will lose my mind, and I will laugh so hard. I know there's a lot of people that really don't want him in the game, and I understand where they're coming from, but I don't know. It would just be a character I personally would be really excited for. And I like I said, I really think he could offer a lot of unique things to the game. Let's jump back over to more realistic predictions, and this one being a Pokemon. I don't know what Pokemon, but probably a new sort of Pokemon from Sword and Shield. I don't really know what character they would include, but I think it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to see another Pokemon come in within the second Fighter Pass, because like I've been already talking about, and I talked about previously with Byleth, there is no rule saying that they can't bring in more first-party characters. And Nintendo loves to bring in new Pokemon to Smash. That's like an iconic thing about Smash Bros. Is all the Pokemon inclusions. But I think it would be really cool to see a character represent a different typing than characters we've seen already. We have a lot of fire types. We have a lot of electric types. And primarily, we have all starter Pokemon. There are the exceptions like Mewtwo and Lucario and Jigglypuff. And I'd love to see more like those characters. I want to see, if they do incorporate a new Pokemon in this Fighter Pass, I'd love to see not only a new typing represented, but also just a non-starter. There are plenty of popular Pokemon that aren't just the starters, and so I really would love to see their take on a different typing as well. I generally don't know who or what character it would be. I have seen talk of bringing in another trainer type character with like 3 different Pokemon from like a different region, I really don't think that's likely, because that's what makes Pokemon Trainer unique. And if you bring in just another character doing the same thing, obviously the Pokemon will play all differently, but it's like kind of just taking that cool mechanic, And beyond that, that's essentially incorporating 3 entire new characters. And I feel like as far as DLC characters go, that wouldn't be very realistic, because then if you consider it that way, that's kind of half the Fighter Pass as one character if you think about it. But with that aside though, I still really think that we could see another Pokemon representative in the Season 2 pass of the Fighter Pass. And then for another character that I personally would want, it's probably not realistic anymore at this point, would actually be Hunter, or the Monster Hunter character. Monster Hunter, of course, already has crossover with Smash Bros., the Rathalos boss fight, and Monster Hunter is such a series that is so closely tied with Nintendo. Of course, their biggest current venture with Monster Hunter World is, of course, not on Nintendo. But the series had such a resurgence during the 3DS era with all of those different games. It's a series that I personally really love, and I think would be such a unique character to be in the game. Because while, yes, Monster Hunter characters do use swords, but they always do use a variety of different weapons. Initially, I'd always thought if they incorporated the Monster Hunter in the game, he would use like a ton of different weapons and moves in different attacks, using the lance for like a tilt, or his down B or whatever being like the hammer, kind of swapping out different weapon types for different moves and having like different attributes. But kind of what puts an issue in that, you know, that idea is Byleth literally does that now. Byleth literally kind of took that idea that I had initially for a Monster Hunter character all along. She's able to rotate between different weapon types and incorporate that into her moveset, and that's kind of how I exactly pictured a Monster Hunter character playing. There's still a possibility that the character still could make it into Smash, maybe, and have a similar sort of mechanic, because at the end of the day, Monster Hunter does have a variety of different weapons that really aren't what the ones that Byleth uses. She uses, of course, the bow, an axe, and a lance, and of course her whippy sword. While Monster Hunter characters have completely different weapons that, while it does share a couple in common, like, of course, the bow and arrow, the series has such a unique collection of different weapons. Bow guns, insect glaive, like I previously mentioned, the lance, great swords, dual swords, switchblade, charge blade, and of course, the most iconic weapon, the hunting horn. There's a way they could make just a full-blown moveset around just the hunting horn, because one of the unique things about the hunting horn is depending on what move you execute, depending on what button you click, it'll play a different musical note. If moves are used in the correct order, you can create a song. And then once you have the song laid out, you can actually play said song, and you can get certain buffs for your team, like attack up, health up, defense up, stuff like that. It'd be such a unique thing to have that kind of moveset being in Smash. It's not probably the best representation of Monster Hunter, because that's just kind of one weapon type, and perhaps that kind of idea of a music-based character would be better represented with, I don't know, like a rhythm heaven rep, or someone actually, a character actually more in tune with music playing. But I really do think this idea of like, depending on which attacks you use in certain succession or what combos you perform, you can actually create songs, and then if you play the song, you can actually be rewarded with a certain buff or whatever. It'd be a really unique play style of being able to balance what moves you throw out, and kind of getting certain buffs, and also encouraging you to do certain combos. It'd be quite a complex character, and I think it'd be such a blast to play as. I really don't think Monster Hunter with the hunting horn is coming into Smash whatsoever, but that kind of idea for a moveset genuinely excites me, and like I continue to keep saying, would be yet another unique inclusion into Smash. Now, I've gone through well over 6 characters that are in the Fighter Pass, and I tried to be smart with it, you know, with a collection of characters I think is realistic, as well as characters I just kind of want. Some honorable mentions I did want to mention. Amaterasu from Okame would be a really cool character inclusion. Kratos from God of War, that'd be pretty cool. A Dark Souls representative like Solaire or something, I could see maybe that happening. I know there's a lot of talk about a Bethesda rep, and I would love to see that too, whether it be the Dragonborn or the more clamored for Doom guy. I think Heihachi from Tekken actually still has a good chance, considering that Mii Fighter's been in limbo for so long. And speaking of Mii Fighters, Gino, while for the longest time I really did have faith that they're going to pull it through and bring him as a fighter, I don't know. I'm really on the fence now. I'm leaning towards it possibility of them bringing it back as a Mii fighter yet again, rather than bringing him as a full-blown fighter. But I'd love to be proven wrong, of course. But the actual character I would love to see more than any other person on this list, any other realistic prediction, any other most wanted prediction, this is the golden character, the one that I want the most, the one that I think has the best chance to make it in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighter Pass Season 2. And that is Lego Darth Vader. The Lego games are beloved by many and have been in a ton of different Nintendo consoles over the years. Since GameCube, DS, right? Original DS, Wii, I'm sure there's probably something on 3DS, Wii U, Switch, they're all over the place. And the most iconic franchise that the Lego games are most known for is, of course, the one that started it all, Lego Star Wars. And there's a variety of characters they could pick from that game. But the most iconic, of course, from that series in general, from the Star Wars fandom, is Darth Vader. And if we had Darth Vader in Lego form, that would be the most ambitious crossover of all time. Because if it was just regular Darth Vader, it'd be like, it might get a little weird. It's like, this is some full-grown man beating up on Mario. But if it was Lego Darth Vader, he could be stubby and short, uses Legos. When he gets hit, like studs burst out of him. You incorporate the mechanics of not only using the Force, but also building with Legos. He is seriously my #1 pick for the Smash Bros. Fighter Pass. It would be the most hype announcement they could ever have. So that's kind of my collection of characters I would love to see in this season 2 of the Fighter Pass, but I would love to hear what your picks are for different characters. Please let me know that in the comments below. Honestly, this is who I'm thinking now, but give me a month or two and I'm sure plenty of these characters will change and I'll have a ton of different ideas of what characters I'd rather see, especially once we know who the first character is. It'll kind of change expectations going forward and what other characters it can make it in. Because honestly, I didn't really talk about many first-party characters, but there's still a lot of series I'd love to see characters get. Like another new Kirby rep like Bandana D. Another new Zelda rep is like really high up my list there. Even seeing another new Mario enemy like Piranha Plant would be hilarious and I'd love to see that too. There are so many different characters and amazing ideas of characters they can include in Smash. And like I said, please let me know your picks in the comments below. Be sure to consider a big awesome like, and if you haven't already, definitely subscribe for tons more on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Thanks again guys so much for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!